everyone, Natasha here with the IMMERSE team, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to be discussing the YAML syntax. It's the first couple lines of code that you can find in our Rmarkdown files, which are on our website. Check out the description for that link. YAML, it stands for Yet Another Markdown Language. It's been described as a data serialization language used for the configuration of files. Here with the IMMERSE team, we use it for one of our core pillars, reproducibility. We want to encourage you and help you to use your YAML syntax so that way you can produce deliverables that are easy for others to navigate through. All right, so let's get started. I am in our studio and I'm going to create a new Rmarkdown file. To do this, I'm going to select File, New File, and then I'm going to select Rmarkdown. All right, right now I'm going to type out a title, and that's going to be YAML in our populated window here for our new Rmarkdown. The author will default to my name along with today's date. I do want you to know that as of a default option here, we do have use current date when rendering document selected, along with the deliverable being an HTML. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and select OK. From there, our new Rmarkdown has been generated. Within the first 6 lines, you can see the YAML syntax. And as of a default, title, author, date, and output are generated in between lines 1 through 6. The title, this is what we had given the name prior to this new Rmarkdown being generated. And then I do want to point out that just because we have given our Rmarkdown a title on our deliverable does not equate to the Rmarkdown actually being saved. So we need to go ahead and save this new Rmarkdown file to File, Save As, and I'm just going to name it YAML. Save. And then here in the title, I do want you to know, I'm just going to change it to Yet Another Markdown Language. And so one more time, this title will be on the deliverable itself. Let me show you what happens when I knit it. Ta-da! And so yet another Markdown language is generated on my deliverable. This is what another individual will see. I'm not going to change my name, but I could, for instance, put the IMMERSE team if I needed to. And then also, as for the date, what happens is that the date default syntax specifies that every time the file is knitted, the date will be updated in the form of year, month, and date. And we can actually change this. I'll show you this later on. Additionally, we also specified that we would like an HTML document. YAML is case sensitive, space sensitive, and indent sensitive. It can be fickle sometimes. So all of my primary or parent arguments are always going to be flush left. If we make a specification to a parent argument, whatever argument follows must be indented and a colon added. So for instance, I want to add a theme to our HTML document here. So I need to go ahead and indent and return the HTML document specification followed by a colon. After that, I want to add a theme to my HTML. I'm going to type out theme followed by colon, space, and then I'm going to add that theme. In this case, I'm going to add the flatly, which we will go over shortly. All right, so let's take a look at some YAML syntax the IMMERSE team often uses in their RMD files. Here we have our enumeration Rmarkdown, which you can go ahead and find on our GitHub. And you can also check out our YouTube video on LCA enumeration on our channel. Let's review some of the unique syntax that we have here. The first thing that I notice is that we don't have a date specified, and that is okay. You actually don't need one, but you could update your date as you would like. Here in the States, we often like to present our date as month day, and then year. Let me show you how you would use and modify the current syntax so that way you could specify it in that form. So simply, you're just going to add a format to right after R. So format, and then we're going to start a parenthesis here, and we're going to also close that parenthesis around system date. We're going to add a comma in between that new ending parenthesis and system date, followed by a percentage sign, capital B, percentage sign, lowercase d, percentage sign, capital Y. Then we want to go ahead and enclose this new syntax in single quotes. Let me get that for us real quick. All right, let me show you what this modification looks like. And there it is, month, day, and year. And one more time, it's just a preference. All right, if you would like to, you could also simplify all of this by manually changing that date. For instance, maybe we want something like September 26th, 2024. All right, I'm just going to knit it, and let me show you what this will look like. There it is, September 26th, 2024. All right, so let's head back to the LCA enumeration RMD file for our additional syntax. All right, so as previously noted, our team likes to use the Flatly HTML theme for their deliverables. That being said, RStudio actually comes with a range of built-in themes that you can use. For instance, there is Simplex, Slate, Darkly, and more. And really, each one of these themes has its own unique visual characteristics, allowing you to choose the style that best suits your content and purpose. You can even go as far as installing packages for additional themes if you would like to. Let's continue to our next unique piece of syntax here. As you can see, we like to request here Word documents to also be produced with our HTMLs. And so how we actually do this in-house is a little tricky, but I want to show you that trick. You want to go ahead and delete the request for an HTML document. You want to go ahead and hit return. And then you want to type in line 6, Word _ document, followed by a colon. And in this case, I'm going to be requesting the default. Right. And so now when I render this, I will then have a Word document be generated in a pop-out window here. And that's exactly what happens. I'm just going to exit out in the meantime. Now, I also want to continue working with my HTML document. So all I do here is just return or enter that Word document specification into line 7. And then on line 6, one more time, I'm going to request that HTML document to be produced. And in this case, I want to show you a different theme. This time, why don't I show you the Darkly theme by typing out theme on line 7, followed by a colon and then Darkly. Let me render this for you. Here is our darkly themed HTML deliverable. I need to point out here that now, since we have HTML document presented first on line 6, followed by Word document option on line 8, that every single time that I'm rendering, that I'm only going to see that HTML document in my pop-up window. However, that does not mean that my Word document is not being updated. It's just not in a separate window at the moment. You can move things around if you would like that Word document to populate in that window whenever you render, though. All right, so let's head back to that LCA enumeration RMD file for additional YAML syntax specification. All right, To further edit our deliverables, we like to add breaks after each sentence for readability purposes. And you can do this using the editor underscore option. You can even go as far as specifying at which column you would like that break by specifying the number of characters you would like on each line. Let me show you how you would do this in your own YAML syntax. Since the editor options key is a parent syntax, we want to go ahead and return to the next line, make sure that we're completely flush left, and then type out editor underscore options, followed by a colon. And since we're making an edit to the markdown, we want to go ahead and type out markdown, followed by a colon, and we want to return or enter onto the next line. And then we want to type out wrap. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and type out, for instance, 72, because I want 72 characters on my lines. Let me show you what happens when I render this. Now there technically should be at least 72 or no more than 72 characters on a line. You can even go as far as maybe making this 60, or you can even just keep it at sentence. Okay. All right. Let's go back and let's review additional syntax. Often you will see the team to include logos, photos, and figures. Occasionally, we like to wrap text around these pictures. Now, we do this using YAML syntax. Specifically, the header includes parent syntax. We're going to call in a latent package, also known as wrapfig. Let me show you how this all works. All right. On line 18, I'm going to paste some text about the IMMERSE grant. Then on line 20, I'm going to call in our figure here. That is going to be our logo. I'm going to type out exclamation, followed by a bracket, then a parenthesis, and then I'm going to type out logo because that is the logo name. It's a PNG. I do want you to know that this is currently in my working directory in my folder here, and this is why it automatically populates in my RMD file. This is a good sign. All right. Now, let's just say I want my text to wrap around this picture. I'm going to one more time in the YAML syntax on line 12, I'm going to type out header dash includes colon space backslash use package, followed by a squiggly bracket, wrap fig, because that's the package I need to use. Okay. Now I'm not done. I need to create more specifications, more specializations here for this logo. So I'm going to add a squiggly bracket. Then I'm going to type out style, followed by equal, followed by quotation, and then float. And I want this floating to the left. So I'm going to add a colon, a space, left. I'm going to end with a semicolon because I'm not done adding, and a quotation, followed by a space. I'm going to specify my width here, equal, and then quotation 300. I'm going to end with a quotation. All right, I'm just going to add a extra line here just to make sure that everything's on a separate line, making sure, just being cautious. All right, everything looks perfect. Let's go ahead and knit this so I can show you. A couple of other options that we really think enhance our HTML output is adding table of contents to our HTML files. Let me show you how you can do this. So after our lines 6 through 7, that are related to our HTML document, I'm going to go ahead and create a new line on line 8. I'm going to type out TOC colon and then true. Calling in or using a table of contents for my HTML document. Now I'm simply going to knit, and very subtly, our table of contents has been added to the very top of our HTML deliverable here. I can go ahead and select them, and I would navigate to those places. Right. Let me show you another option that we really enjoy here, that we think is just a little more aesthetically pleasing for that table of contents. I'm just going to hit return or enter and create a new line. And here I'm going to actually type out TOC for table of contents underscore float, followed by a colon and true. Now, we believe that this actually helps improve the aesthetics of that table of contents because it's going to be floating through our document as someone is scrolling through that HTML. So let me knit this for us. And there it is on the left-hand side, and I can go ahead and click and it'll take us there. If this were a longer document here, this is just such a handy tool to have, and we believe that it's really beneficial for our audience. All right, one last option that we really like. We can also, using YAML syntax, either hide or make visible our code. We prefer sometimes to hide that code because it can get really long and tedious. So to do this, under the HTML document lines of code here, we're going to start a new line under our table of contents by adding a return or enter and having that new line, and then typing out code underscore folding. And in this case, I want to hide that code. So let me hide it. And I'm going to knit so I can show you what this option does. Now, currently, we only have our output shown. If we would like to go ahead and show that code, all we have to do is hit the show button that has been added. I'm going to hit the show, and then as you can see, summary cars, that is our code that we use to go ahead and get these descriptives here. All right, so that concludes our YAML video. Hopefully you found it useful for editing your R markdowns and making them just a little more accessible. If you have any comments, questions, just reach out to the IMMERSE team. All right, see you next time.